Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be working with the Simon Says Stamp February 2018 card kit. Here I'm going to give you a quick look at what came in the kit. In addition to this, I also purchased some of the ephemera that matches the paper collection, as well as a sheet of the 12 by 12 paper, which had a few sayings on it that I liked. So jumping here into card number 1, I'm going to use this yellow card base, and I'm placing my ATG as close to the outside edge of the base as I can. I want to cover the full front of this with this pretty floral paper, and I want this to sort of look like some wallpaper. And then off to the side there, you'll see I've got some cork. This is from Die Cuts with a View. And I'm going to trim that down to create a cork board to put on top of my wallpaper. So it's sort of like a screenshot into a craft room. Now, if you don't have this cork, you could use the cork paper that came in the kit, but since I had it, I wanted to add a little bit more texture to my card. So here I'm trimming this down to 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. Just measuring that out, and I would suggest if you want to use this that you use your scissors to cut it. There you can see I'm using a different piece of cork because I tried using my craft knife to cut it and it really shredded the edges of that cork material. So my scissors worked much better to get a straighter edge. Now I want to make it look like these pieces of ephemera are pinned onto this craft board, so I thought using brads would be a good way to do that. And I dug through my stash here and I was able to find a gray taupey color that I thought worked really well. Since all of my pieces are so colorful, I wanted to go with something that was a little more muted down. So I'm just going to poke holes in each of those, and then I'll use my We Are Memory Keepers brad setter to stick those through. I originally thought about actually putting the brads through the cork, but since I had trouble when I was trying to cut it, it almost crumbled. I was worried with the push pins being so close to the edge that it might fall apart again. So I decided just to stick them through the ephemera pieces, and by the time they're down, you can't tell that they're not the whole way through. So I'm just using ATG to attach all of these. Then for the inside of the card, I'm using a Neenah panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. And I pulled out another piece of ephemera. This reads, "The answer is crafting. I don't care what the question is." And I'll center that on the inside panel. And that will complete card number 1. For card number 2, I had this embroidery hoop in my stash, and when I saw this circle ephemera, I thought it would be really cool to try and stick that inside of the hoop. So what I'm doing here is just measuring around the outside of the hoop, and then I'll trim down this piece of ephemera to that same size. And here I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut notches around the edges, and I space these anywhere from 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch apart. What I'm going to do then is curl around those edges because I want to try and get this as popped up as I can inside the hoop so that it looks like something that you're actually working on. And I did use my bone folder there to help me curl those edges. That worked really well. This was a little bit fiddly. I did actually cut a circle out of just some scratch paper to practice this before I started filming it. And if you happen to have something like this at home and want to give it a try, I would suggest definitely giving it a practice run first. So there you'll see I'm happy with that, and I went ahead and took the backing to the hoop. I'm just going to slide that in there, and then I will pinch the top closed and secure that. Next, I grabbed some scrap white cotton fabric, and I'm just going to stick that behind the hoop so it looks like it's a work in progress. And I'm trimming that down to somewhat of a square shape. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then I wanted to pinch this to make it look a little bit more real. If you've ever done an embroidery, you know that your fabric, when it's tucked inside the hoop, does not lay flat. So I wanted to try and create some folds behind it. What I ended up doing was pulling out a little elastic band and then just pinching the inside of the fabric and tying that band around it to keep some folds in there. Now, once I was happy with that, I thought I'd try out some of this tacky glue that came in the kit. So I placed that all the way around the edge just to help keep that ephemera in there nice and tight. And then I'll place a little bit in the middle also and attach the fabric behind. So I've set that off to the side to dry, and I'm going to work on the inside of my card. I've got another Neenah panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4, and I'm going to stamp this stitched line stamp that came in the kit, and I'll use American Crafts Aqua Pigment ink to do that. So I'm doing one line straight across, and then I flipped it, and I'm going to do 2 vertical lines. And I will say this stamp was a little bit fiddly. I'm happy with it. But it took me quite a while to actually get that lined up in my MISTI. I could not get it to stand up on end. What I finally ended up doing was I got it as close as I could, and then I used the lines that are on the top of the MISTI lid to make sure it was nice and straight. So now that I've got those 3 lines stamped, I'm going to finish off with my sentiment, and I'm going with Hugs Enclosed. I think this was my favorite sentiment of the set, and I stamped that using Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. I'll just go ahead now and place that on the inside using my ATG gun. Finally, I'm going to add some glue to the back of the embroidery hoop, and I'll stick that on the front of the card base. And then I'm going to go around and add some glue underneath the fabric. I wanted to create a few more folds. I tried to make it look as natural as I could, but I didn't want it sticking off the edges. So I just sort of folded that and made sure it stayed along the borders of the card. And that will complete card number 2. For card number 3, I'm going to do a little bit of stamp surgery here. I wanted to get that hello by itself. So I'm trimming off the top of this that says sending you a handcrafted, and then the bottom portion that says from so very far away. So I'm working here again on a Neenah panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4, and I'm going to start in the center. I'm going to make a rainbow out of the word hello, and I'm using my Lawn Fawn ink to do this. So I'm starting in the center, I'm going to work up and then I'll work down, and what I'm doing is moving my panel by 3 squares every time I change colors, so either up or down. And the colors I'm using, these are in rainbow order, not stamping order, are Peachy Keen, Lobster, fake tan, sunflower, fresh cut grass, minty fresh, deep sea, and juice box. And for the blue, I had originally stamped that in minty fresh, and then the color was just reading a little bit too green since it was next to the fresh cut grass. So I went ahead then and added the deep sea over top of it. If you wanted to case the card, you could just use deep sea and it really wouldn't look very different. So once I've got all my colors stamped out, I'm going to use the top portion of that and stamp "Sending You a Handcrafted" using Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. I'll go ahead and attach that to the top of my card base. And then for the inside of the card, I'm going to use the bottom part of the stamp that says "From So Very Far Away," again using Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. I went ahead then and placed that on the inside of my card base, and this was a really quick one, but that will complete card number 3. For card number 4, I decided I wanted to do a gatefold card. So here I'm using this cork patterned paper that came in the kit, and I'm going to trim down 2 pieces that measure 1 3/4 inches by 5 inches. That's going to give me a nice border around both of my flaps. And I'll use my ATG gun to attach those in the center there. On the inside of the card, I decided I wanted to make a pocket for a gift card. So I'm using the Lawn Fawn Stitched Gift Card Pocket. And here I'm going to add some 1/8 inch score tape all around these 3 sides. I'll fold those down. I remove the backing from the tape, and I'm just deciding on my placement here. I'm going to try and get that centered there as best I can. And then here I'll show you in a second how the gift card slides really easily in there. For the sentiment, I decided to go with the Crafter's Gonna Craft. And I'm going to stamp that using Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. Next, I'm going to create a belly band to keep both of my flaps down. And I had this strip of pattern paper that I cut out from the 12 by 12 paper I got to go along with this kit. And here I'm just measuring this out. Now this originally did have 3 repeats of that phrase, and I had trimmed off one of them. I thought I was going to use it on one of the other cards, which I ended up not doing, but that made it just slightly too short to use for this. But I really liked it, so I thought I'm just going to make it work. And what I ended up doing was trimming off another piece of that cork patterned paper, and I trimmed that down to 2 inches to match, and then I added score tape on either end of the patterned paper. So I'm just going to measure that around, and then I'll make a mark where I need to cut it. I trim that down, and then I'm going to fold that piece over, and that'll give me a complete band with just that little, about 1 inch of the cork board sticking out on the back. And that's going to complete card number 4. For card number 5, I'm going to use this measuring tape paper as a background, and I've trimmed off another one of the stripes from the 12 by 12 paper. So I'm going to attach that about 2/3 of the way down, and then I lined up my MFT Blueprints 32 frame die. I'm going to trim out this panel. This will measure 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Next, I decided I wanted to add a stitching line across the top there. So I'm just measuring about 1/4 of an inch down. And I'm going to use some of this DMC floss. The color is 3814. Here I'm using that Brad Setter tool again. It's got a really great piercer on the end of it. So I'm just going to create some holes so it'll be easier to bring my floss through the paper. So I'm going to stitch all the way across there, stopping at about an inch, inch and a quarter in from the opposite end. And then I've got this wooden sewing machine piece. So it had a little hole there where you would normally thread your needle, and I thought it would be cute to pull my floss up through there. So I pulled that through. I'm adding some tacky glue behind the wood sewing machine, and I'm going to place that down. And then I'm just going to take this string and I will wrap that like you normally would thread a sewing machine. So I'm going to take it up and then around, and then to sort of secure it, I wrapped it around the wheel on the edge there, and then ended on the back side of the paper, and I'll go ahead and secure that down with a little piece of Scotch tape. For the inside of the card, I'm going to use that sentiment again, Hugs Enclosed, and I went back to that American Crafts aqua pigment ink to stamp it. Then to finish that off, I'm going to trim off 2 of the measuring tapes that are left over. And I'll add those across the bottom. I trimmed off the excess there, and then I'm going to go back to my front panel. I had originally thought I might pop this up with some foam tape, but I decided that the wooden piece was dimensional enough. So I just used some ATG, and I'm going to pop that on the top of the card base. And then I'll insert this panel on the inside. And that will complete card number 5. Here's a quick look back at the cards from today. Additional photos as well as a full list of supplies can be found at my blog post, linked in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.